Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna be discussing what is software testing. Now, in all the time that I've been on YouTube covering everything regards QA, testing, and so on, I've never actually tackled what is software testing as a separate topic of itself. So today we're going to be diving deeper. If you didn't know what software testing is, this is the right video for you. Let's just jump into it. Have you ever used a system or an app and not been able to, for example, submit something or make a payment somewhere, or I don't know, something just crashed, like the application just closed out by itself? Now, this is exactly where software testing comes into play and how it tries to prevent it. In order to start talking about software testing, we do have to circle back a bit and just state it by definition what software testing means. So software testing is a process of evaluating and verifying that a software product or system or application does what it's supposed to do, that it meets the requirements, that it meets the designs, all of the code that was written hasn't created any errors in the system. And overall, it's a full-on process of basically trying to prevent bugs or trying to intervene before they actually go out to real users. And although there is a full-on process that does this, that tries to find bugs before they go out and try to prevent it by fixing them, there is yet no system that is 100% bug-free. And there won't be, because the edge cases or the cases that humans could basically come up with are basically endless, as well as the systems and devices these days. It's just such a variety. And there is basically a huge web of devices you can be testing on. And in order for you to even tackle that, that's just, the combinations. It's a lot of combinations, basically. So the summary is that there is no system that is 100% bug-free, but we do have processes in place for you to actually be able to use the apps that you use. For example, WhatsApp every day, or I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. They all have their quality assurance process before you actually get to use the latest versions that they give you. Now, the next is definitely what type of testing actually exists. I'm just going to be naming the key types of testing that exist and are widely used. So yeah, honestly, also there's like so many different types of testing. So this is just informational that there's just a lot of them. There's manual testing, there's automation testing, there's unit testing, there's integration testing, there's system testing, acceptance testing, regression testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, usability testing, performance testing, security testing, compatibility testing, and of course localization and internationalization testing. So there's all of these testing types that are actually being used in order to test the actual system or application. It's a big variety, basically. So the next key thing is, why is testing actually necessary? Like, why does it even matter to be doing that? Number one is definitely preventing bugs from reaching the end users. Now, imagine that you're checking your banking app, for example, and it's not working, or you are not able to make a payment or something else. That's like a terrible user experience. Plus, imagine if something is really weird with the system and the money you have just shows up that it's not there. It's sort of terrifying, right? For you to not be able to access your money and everything, like do anything with it. So this is where testing comes in. They do very rigorous testing based on their priorities, the critical functionality for you as an end user to be able to actually use the app. There is a full-on process before you actually receive the latest version of it to the end users. Even then, there are phases of testing being done afterwards to be sure that everyone can use the app. The next reason is definitely to save money. Now, statistically, it has been proven over and over again, and we will even have some examples later on, that the earlier you catch a bug, the cheaper it is to fix it. And that's just the way it is. If you catch something into production, which can be something scary, like something with a banking app, which involves payments and something not working right, it can get very, very costly very, very quickly, especially when a lot of users are impacted. There's lawsuits, there's rollbacks, there's so many things that can make the whole thing so much more expensive. The earlier you catch bugs, the cheaper they are. The later, the more expensive they are. And it can cause a whole lot of trouble to company, to you actually trusting the company. For example, the same banking app with your money. There can be like this butterfly effect that can make a whole ordeal to a company. Next is definitely to ensure quality and user trust. I, for example, always notice if I'm using an app and if it's actually reliable. If it's not reliable, I will probably not really want to use it anymore, or I will not just trust it. The same example with the banking app. There would be an app that would be glitching all the time. Would you trust it with your money, or would you want to switch banks? It's pretty simple these days, and these days you have a lot of choices. So if you don't trust the app, the customers will not be like using it. So you need quality app, quality system for your customers to actually be trusting you and for you to be actually wanting to use it, right? If it's a hassle every time and you have to do a lot of troubleshooting to even use it, it's just not gonna be that friendly to you as a user. So next point is definitely it protects reputation and the brand. So for the same banking app, if there is no trust, if there's a lot of bugs, the reputation for the banking app is not going to be that great, and people just will associate it with troubles, with errors and so on. So it's also very hard to be coming back from that. It's been actually statistically proven that a lot of corporations, companies lose a lot of money, like millions of dollars, due to bugs or data leaks happening. So it's very, very crucial for all of the companies to be trying to do their best in terms of quality assurance or software testing. In terms, it's also technically like a safety net. If you have all your procedures and systems in place for you to be trying to not have any defects or data leaks, you may be doing everything correctly and your PR team may not have such a nightmare to later deal with everyone. But yeah, it's sort of a safety net as to a company, and is definitely, again, much cheaper to be fixing bugs early on in the development process than it is later on. Okay, and I also wanted to include like a famous bug story, just like an example so you would understand. So one of the most famous, most expensive bugs in history, well, one of them, there's actually been many of them until this point now, but it's just an example so you would have like a grasp of what it actually can cause to a company. There was this case of NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter, which had a bug, yet it cost NASA $327 million. So what was the issue there? So basically, the orbiter had an issue that didn't translate English units to metrics, hence causing a huge error in the navigation and costing $327 million, which is a lot. Even it's like such a simple thing, right? Seems like a little bug, but imagine it's for a navigation system. So if you have different metrics being calculated showing you direction, that's a big issue for a navigation system. And honestly, there's been so many cases, so many examples. I've actually covered a lot of them. I'll be covering more in future, but it's very expensive. These little things that maybe people didn't think of till the very end can cause so much damages to a company and to a whole mission, basically, because it's terrible. Hence, again, why software testing is necessary, to be going through all of the cases, edge cases, checking all of these real life examples, scenarios, and going through rigorously, basically checking them off and seeing if everything works. Now, still, I do want to remind that obviously not everything will still be caught. There will be bugs slipping in, but you always want to make sure that the main functionality of the product is working, and that's what we are trying to prevent, for it to not get to a point where it's just not usable at all or causing customers issues. And last piece I wanted to focus on were just the roles in software testing that you may encounter, or if you're here interested in what it is as a career path, this is what it may be looking like, and this is what you may be steering into in the future if you're interested. So the first role is manual tester or QA tester. It's basically someone testing the application by hand. Next one is automation tester or QA automation engineer. Its tasks are basically writing code or scripts to be basically automating the testing tasks that the previous role was doing manually. Now we are trying to basically automate them with using code, and they then get run periodically or every day or every hour, and checking off if something has changed in code, something is failing or not, and flagging bugs if it's happening. Now, next role is test analyst, which is basically planning and designing test strategies and scenarios. Next is test engineer or QA engineer. So this is like a broad description though, and every company does translate it differently, but it can involve manual testing and automation testing both together, or the test analyst and manual testing mashed together. It can be so many things, but basically it's a variety of, again, different testing approaches being used within the role. Next one is test lead or QA lead. That's just someone who's leading all of the testing efforts, overseeing the team, giving out tasks, basically being in line with priorities and what needs to be done, and handing it off to other teammates. Then next role is SDET or software development engineering test, which is like a hybrid between the developer and a tester. This has actually been something a lot of people have been interested these days into moving into from QA. So this can also be an interesting career path if you're interested. Now the next role is performance tester. This is basically someone who checks how the product is performing under a lot of load or a lot of stress. For example, if a lot of users at the same time are coming in to make a purchase for one single item, can the system actually handle that? That's where performance testers come in. And of course, this is like a simplified way of me describing it, but that's what they basically do. Then there's security testers or penetration testers, which are basically trying to find vulnerabilities within the system. Basically, all of the data leaks, they're trying to prevent that and trying to find where are the data leaks happening, if they are happening, or trying to basically not make them happen and trying to make the application or product safe for all of the customers. And then the last one is user acceptance testing. This is basically representation of the end user testing, or basically how the end user would actually be using it. I've used it before. For example, I've given a product to be checked by an elderly person to see if they can actually understand what they have to do. If not, there's a lot of notes or improvements you can be taking from that. So that's user acceptance testing, just giving it out to real life users, real life clients, or people who may be using it, and gathering that feedback back and seeing how you can iterate better for them to be able to use the app without any issues. Now that's basically what software testing is and what it involves. There's a lot of key points and I couldn't go into detail. Otherwise, again, this would be like a mini documentary. So I hope you learned something new. If you did, if you didn't, either way, guys, thank you so much for watching, and please do hit that like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.